Yeah, taxes and money, those will always get me in trouble when I'm preaching. But of course, that's getting in trouble is the point. The Pharisees are trying to set Jesus up. They're trying to trick him and trap him into saying something that will violate religious law. Because of course, coins that have images of the emperor have graven images. They violate the 10 Commandments. We probably don't think about that much when we handle our own money, right? Yeah, it's one of the commandments. We just kind of ignore that one, right? Go right ahead, drop our coins in the parking meters or Coke machines. Yeah. They're trying to entrap Jesus. They're trying to trip him up. And I see some days in current times people using this passage to try to trip one another up politically in a partisan way. That you should or shouldn't pay taxes, that our government is or is not an expression of God's will in the world. I'm not going to express an opinion one way or the other on that. But I'm very taken with what Jesus' answer to the Pharisees and their disciples are, which is, give to the emperor what is the emperor's, give to Caesar what is Caesar's, give to God is what is God's. Dorothy Day, do you know Dorothy? Was early 20th century radical author, organizer, Catholic woman who made the point that everything belongs to God. So we should give everything to God. And nothing belongs to the emperor, nothing belongs to Caesar. And she, of course, became the leader of the Catholic worker house movement. And she wrote and she taught and she got in trouble. Kind of like Jesus. Jesus would get in trouble. People would try to entrap him. Sometimes Christian folks try to entrap one another. Could we not? Could we stop that? Could we love one another instead? Do you think? Despite our differences, do you think maybe we could love each other? Try? You see, I think that's the core of what we're called to do because God loves us. And I love this text out of Exodus 2. I love the contrasts. I love the humor, frankly. Moses wants to be distinct. Moses wants his people to be special, to be closer to God than everybody else. And don't we all? Don't we want to be closer to God? Okay, maybe it's just me. I like to be special. This is what Moses wants. Moses wants something that nobody else has. I want to see you. I want to see your glory. And God basically says, you can't handle my glory. But instead sets up this scenario where, all right, I know you, Moses. I know your people. I know you by name. And this gets echoed later in the prophets. God knows us and loves us and honors us and goes with us. This is the promise. This is the guarantee. Okay, I know you, but Moses wants to know God. All right. Tell you what. I'm going to put you in this cleft in the rock. My goodness, my glory is going to pass by. I'm going to cover it. And as I go by, you can see my backside. The word in Hebrew actually sort of means after. You can see my after, my wake. You can see where I've been. And isn't that the way it is with us too? That we see where God is moving in the world by where there are echoes and wakes of love and justice, right? I mean, do you meet people and you go, wow, I that's someone I would like to know better. Wow, that's someone who lives with deep integrity. Wow, that's someone that I'd like to be more like when I grow up, no matter how old you are. Do you meet people like that? We see God's after. But here's the important thing for a day like today, when we're baptizing Hank and we're welcoming new members, that God already knows us. Whatever we know or don't know of God, God knows us and loves us. And so we celebrate this sacrament because God's grace is poured out on us without us doing anything. That's why we practice infant baptism. But it's also why we baptize teenagers and full-size grown-ups, because God's grace goes first. For the Methodists in the room, the Wesleyans, prevenient grace. I can speak Wesleyan. But the idea is that because of God's grace, we therefore have faith. And so we can come with our whole selves, with all of who we are, with all of who we love, with all of our mistakes, with all of our hopes, with all of our prayers, all our whole selves. God welcomes and wraps up, and we can see God's after, God's wake, in the grace and glory and love and justice in the lives of people around us. Because of God's presence, we can celebrate baptisms and welcome new members and know that we do this not for ourselves, not so that we will be special, but for the next generation and the one after that and the ones after that. Too many people have been told that they are not welcome in church with their whole selves, that they have to leave some part of their life at the door in order to be part of a faith community. But that is not how I read these scriptures. Moses grew up a Jew, but in Pharaoh's household, became a murderer, was called anyway, stuttered and stumbled along his way, led a group of people who did not agree with him or behave themselves very well. Remember, was it last week we had golden calves? Wasn't 40 days and we're building idols. Even Moses is called to lead. And we are called with our whole selves to celebrate God's grace and to let that light shine for others. For the gifts of grace, justice, peace, love poured out in baptism, in God's after, in the wake of the Spirit moving in the world. Thanks be to God.